the Business Courier front page centerpiece this week, opening day is a week from tomorrow. And when the storied Cincinnati Reds take the field at Great American Ballpark, you may be asking yourself, who are these guys? A batch of young Reds will take the field this season in place of well-known names and faces like Todd Frazier, Aroldis Chapman, and Johnny Cueto. This season, a rebuild is in full effect. More big changes could still come before next week, but we can count on seeing Joey Votto in the lineup. He'll be paid $20 million in 2016, making him the highest paid Reds player and the 29th highest paid in all of Major League Baseball. He has a 10-year, $225 million deal that runs through 2023. Still, the Reds' overall payroll is $30 million less than last year's and $43 million less than the average Major League team. How will the Reds fare on the field? Well, the consensus among prognosticators is they'll either finish 4th or 5th in the NL Central, battling with the Milwaukee Brewers to stay out of the cellar. Business Courier reporter Steve Watkins dove headfirst into the Reds' business story. He joins editor Rob Dawmeyer in the studio with some perspective.
Thanks very much, Steve. Thanks for being here.
Sure, glad to do it.
It's a great time of year for young Steve Watkins, who's, I think, the biggest baseball fan I've ever met. So anyway, as somebody who follows the Reds, what does this year hold for the team?
Well, it's not overly promising, let's put it that way. The experts, you know, we looked at about 7 or 8, and they're pretty almost unanimous in their opinions. It's going to be a last place finish or very close to it. The Brewers are rebuilding too, so it's a race for the cellar and for 4th place. Most people are actually picking the Reds for 5th in that battle, but it'll be close between those two, and quite a chasm between them and the top 3 in the division. Several people are picking the Reds for about 98 losses. Again, that's exactly what they had last year, and that wasn't much fun. So
no, and so except for last year, it's been a really good stretch for the Reds as far as their records, and they made the playoffs a couple times. They also had a fairly sizable payroll for such a small market team, but how is this rebuilding that they're going through right now, how's that impacted payroll?
It has had a pretty big impact. You're right, the payroll was pretty competitive the last few years. It was $115 million and ranked 17th right in the middle of the majors last year. This year it's going to be around $85 million, so $30 million less. When you trade people like Chapman and Frazier, you get that. And, you know, the performance reflects that, but it shows that they're going with all these young players. They don't make much money, and they'll be able to keep these guys, the promising ones that pan out, they'll be able to keep them for 6 years or so.
Now, on the cover, actually, we take a look at 5 guys that a lot, unless you're a really hardcore Reds fan, you may not have ever even heard or seen most of these guys. Now, of course, yeah, as I said, you would. But on the flip side, we've got Joey Votto, who is the highest paid Red in history?
Oh, yes, yes.
So just really quickly, give the viewers an idea of what his contract is like.
Yeah, well, for one thing, we looked at it in an interesting way compared to the CEOs in the city. He makes more than any of them. Yeah. So as many people would say, hey, he had a better year than they did.
That's right.
But he makes $20 million this year. He's 29th in all of baseball, which is not as high as you would think, but it's up there, and it eats up a big chunk of that $85 million.
So how does attendance look this year? Are Reds fans fickle? Are they fair weather fans, or is attendance supposed to be strong this year?
Some of them are, for sure. There probably won't be as many as last year, but the Reds think the attendance is going to be pretty decent. They only expect a couple of percentage points drop off from last year. And we had the All-Star game last year. That helped attendance. But we looked at 2 teams that rebuilt over the last few years, the Cubs and the Astros, and they had drop-offs of anywhere between like 15 or 20%, as much. Houston had almost a 50% drop-off over a few years. Right. So the Reds can expect things to drop a little, but they don't see it dropping off that much in attendance, and they're around the middle of the league there too.
Well, this will be a test for Reds fans this year, I think. We'll see how well they'll keep up. Yeah, thank you so much.
Sure, thank you.